Do you know? Over 280 million people around the world live with depression. Most of them still go to work, still show up, still smile when they're supposed to. Nearly half of all adults will struggle with a mental health challenge at some point, but most will never say a word about it. Not to friends, not to family, not even to themselves. The average time it takes someone to reach out for help after noticing symptoms is 11 years. 11 years of holding it in, of telling yourself, it's probably nothing. Mental health, we all have it. But for millions around the world, it's still misunderstood, overlooked, or even ignored. Today, we're going to explore something simple and powerful: how to talk about mental health in a way that opens hearts instead of shutting them down. This isn't just for therapists or advocates. It's for all of us, navigating daily life, trying to make sense of our thoughts, trying to connect with others, and most of all, trying to understand ourselves. But here's the truth. Most of us never learned how to talk about our feelings. We were taught to tough it out, to stay quiet, to hide the pain. Be strong. Get over it. Stop being dramatic. Other people have it worse. These are the phrases we've often heard, sometimes from people who meant well, our parents, our teachers, our partners, our friends. But more often than not, they came from their own discomfort, their own fear of vulnerability, from generations where pain was silenced, where emotional struggles were seen as weakness. So we learned to bury what hurt, to smile when we wanted to cry, to distract instead of reflect, to stay silent, even when our hearts were screaming. And over time, that silence became familiar, a habit, a mask, a quiet way of surviving in a world that never taught us how to speak. But here's the thing. When we silence ourselves for too long, we don't just lose our voice, we also start to forget how to listen to it at all. And that's where disconnection begins, from others, and slowly, from ourselves. Let me tell you something real. Mental health isn't just about mental illness. It's about how we think, feel, and act. It affects how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices every single day. Just like physical health, mental health exists on a spectrum. Some days we feel strong and balanced. Other days we struggle, and that's a normal thing. But here's the reality. 1 in 8 people globally live with a mental health condition. Anxiety and depression are among the most common. Suicide is the 4th leading cause of death among 15 to 29-year-olds. These numbers aren't just statistics. Behind each one is a person, a story, a silent struggle. That's why mental health awareness matters a lot. Mental health problems don't always look like what we expect. They can show up as fatigue, irritability, withdrawal, or even unexplained aches and pains. And because these symptoms are often invisible, people suffer in silence, not because they want to, but because talking about mental health feels hard. So why is it so hard to talk about mental health? One of the biggest reasons is shame. It convinces us that our pain is a personal failure, something to hide, not to heal. So we stay silent, hoping no one will notice how much we're hurting. Second, fear of judgment. There's a real fear that if we speak up, people will see us differently, as weak, unstable, or too much. That fear keeps us guarded, pretending to be okay. Third, lack of language. When emotions feel messy and heavy, it's hard to explain pain that has no clear reason, especially when we were never taught how to name what we feel. And lastly, there's trauma. Past experiences like abuse, neglect, or feeling ignored leave deep scars. They teach us that speaking up isn't safe, so we stay silent, even when we're hurting inside. This happens when you grew up in an environment where emotions were unsafe, where speaking up led to punishment, ridicule, or abandonment. Then silence becomes a survival skill, and breaking that silence can feel terrifying. When we don't talk about mental health, it doesn't go away. It just retreats, quietly, painfully, into the shadows. It becomes the thing we tiptoe around, too scared to name, too scared to face. But silence doesn't fix it. It doesn't make it go away. It just lets the pain grow. And that pain, it shows up everywhere, in how we love, how we react, how we see ourselves. It touches everything, even the parts we thought were safe. Unspoken pain becomes anxiety that won't let you sleep, anger that explodes at the wrong moments, sadness that drains your energy, detachment that creates distance in relationships, physical illness, fatigue, even chronic pain. But here's the hope in all of this. It only takes one person to break the silence, to start a different kind of conversation. Talking about mental health doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be a grand confession. It doesn't even have to be perfect. It just has to be honest, in whatever way feels right for you. Start with simple, honest language. Talk about how things feel, not just what happened. Find people who feel safe to open up with. Be curious about what's going on inside you, not harsh, not critical. And more importantly, practice self-talk too. Because talking about mental health doesn't always begin with others. It begins with you. It starts quietly, inside your own mind. Ask yourself, what am I really feeling right now? What do I need? What would it look like to be kind to myself today? These simple questions can open doors, not just to healing, but to understanding, softness, and truth. And that's where real conversations begin. And when we begin to talk about mental health, something beautiful happens. The walls we've built begin to fall. We feel a little less alone. The shame starts to soften, and others feel brave enough to speak too. Because talking creates ripples. It says, it's okay to feel. It's okay to not be okay. You're not alone. And in a world where so many are quietly hurting, that message matters. Keep in mind, mental health isn't just a diagnosis. It's a part of your overall well-being. The more we talk about it, with honesty, compassion, and courage, the closer we come to a world where no one has to suffer in silence. Take care of your own well-being. Rest, connections, and asking for help are all part of self-care. You don't have to be a professional to make a difference. Sometimes just being aware, being kind, being present can change a life. Awareness breaks silence. It ends stigma. And yes, sometimes it even saves lives.